American University in Bulgaria.
Good evening and welcome. We welcome tonight Dr. Velizar Shalamanov. He is the caretaker Minister of Defense of the Republic of Bulgaria. He belongs to that rare breed of ministerial appointments who owes their position not because of political allegiance, but because of his expertise. He brings to his executive office 14 years of research, development and management, working with the Bulgarian Armed Forces, and has previously served for 3 years as the Deputy Minister of Defense. Minister Shalamanov combines experience in higher education not only because of degrees, though he has a few, including a PhD in cybernetics, but also as a professor, having previously taught at Sofia University, the Bulgarian University, and the University of National and World Economy, with practical experience in developing and implementing security and defense policies. He has held both positions at national level, but also with NATO, postings such as the Director in charge of cooperation with the nations of NATO's Consultation, Command and Control Agency, and as Director Demand Management for NATO's Communication and Information Agency, NCIA. Tonight's talk focuses on cooperation in Southeastern Europe and regional security. We welcome Minister Shalamanov to AUBG and look forward to an interesting speech.
Thank you. Good evening to everyone. It's really a privilege to have this opportunity to meet with you to discuss aspects of regional cooperation and implications for the security of Southeast Europe. As it was mentioned, and thank you for this kind introduction, I'm a member of the caretaker government. It means we have a very limited mandate, but quite ambitious, because when it comes country to have a caretaker government, it means something serious has to be changed in order to have a better future after the elections coming next weekend. So in this case, you probably know that President Plevneliev announced on 5th of August a very ambitious list of key priorities and tasks for this caretaker government. In the area of Ministry of Defense, it was really challenging because of the upcoming, this time, Wales Summit. That is really a historical point in development of NATO, and because of the overall security development around Bulgaria, as well as the critical, really tipping point for modernization of Bulgarian armed forces. But I will not talk about these issues. I will focus shortly on regional cooperation in Southeast Europe with all the challenges that we face. Of course, being in Bulgaria, you will find that people are very much interested in history. So this is our third Bulgarian state on this territory. The first one was established in 681. We will celebrate, actually, in a week, 1,000 years of the death of the last king of the first Bulgarian state, Samuil. And I'm mentioning this because in first, second, and especially third Bulgarian states, this region was not the easy one to manage the situation. There were a lot of conflicts between the states in the region, and we are very happy that during the period of last more than 20, 30 years, there is really a very positive trend for regional cooperation. It is important to mention that, of course, in history and political science, it is very difficult to be absolutely sure about the reasons that when something is going well or bad. But when NATO decided to offer this Partnership for Peace program for all Eastern European and Asian countries, members of the former Warsaw Pact or former Soviet Union, totally new type of environment was created. And now, 20 years later, we really could say that this was as important as the Marshall Plan was important for Western Europe to recover after the Second World War. Of course, in this situation, it was not economic program, it was program for partnership, it was program for cooperation, and actually this was the most important type of support that was needed in this period. So for the last 20 years, there are many initiatives that were initiated by the countries in the region. In most of the cases, US were involved as a global power. I will mention, and I will focus on the cooperation that is related mostly to security, but security and development, security and economic cooperation are closely linked. And for this region, we realize that without security cooperation, without military cooperation to build trust, it's very difficult to have any other kind of cooperation. So in 1996, the process of Southeast European Defense Ministerial was established. It was really breakthrough in relations between the countries, members of the former Warsaw Pact, NATO, and some non-allied nations. Of course, this was a process just to provide opportunity for ministers of defense to meet, to start talking with each other, to develop a culture of transparency in defense budgets, in development of armed forces, implementing new models of civil-military relations, democratic control of armed forces. And it was very important in order to limit the crisis that had already started in former Yugoslavia. So in '99, the next step was with the Stability Pact that was initiated by European Union, and now it is transformed in Regional Cooperation Council that is trying to build much larger cooperation that includes security and defense, but is mostly focused on regional development. Of course, the countries in the region have certain experience in this Black Sea economic cooperation, that is attempt to extend the Western Balkans and Southeast Europe in narrow sense with the larger Black Sea area, and to engage more of the countries, because everything in this region is linked historically by people, and it's very difficult to define the borders of Southeast Europe as such, not only geographically but politically, culturally, and if we want to really stabilize and to support the development of the region, cooperation of many different players is essential. Of course, later on, another initiative in Black Sea was initiated in 2000-2001, Black Sea 4, that is specific maritime cooperation to build trust between the maritime nations around Black Sea. Later on, again, in preparation for joining NATO, Albania, Macedonia, Croatia, together with US, established the Adriatic Charter with 3 nations that was further extended to include Montenegro and Bosnia and Herzegovina, so it's known like A5. In the framework of cooperation with EU and other European nations, to include Norway, for example, and in support to development programs, the format for Western Balkans defense policy directors type of cooperation was established as well. And recently, actually not so recently, the process of meeting of chiefs of defense of Balkan nations was established to include Serbia. And as you see, there are a lot of formats that were generated in order to maintain dialogue in the area of defense and security, to bring decision makers, leaders of different countries together. So based on this experience, Slovenia proposed more than a year ago to start thinking about consolidation of these different processes of cooperation and to have a comprehensive regional ministerial. The first one was in Brdo last year. This year will be in Montenegro. We are working actually to propose next year this meeting to be in Bulgaria, in Sofia. And it is an opportunity to really try to not integrate, but start to harmonize cooperation in these different formats and maybe to look for more practically oriented approach for cooperation where the whole region is covered. As I mentioned, the challenge with Southeast Europe is very complex, and it starts with definition of the region. And the problem is that if there is an easy approach, it will be to define the countries with common interest, with common culture, with common approaches. In Southeast Europe, what we see is just opposite. We define Southeast Europe as area that is not included in any other existing cooperation mechanism. So there is Visegrad Group, there is Baltic Defense Cooperation, there is cooperation between Germany, Austria, and Switzerland with name DACH, Deutsch, Austria, Switzerland. And there is kind of, I will not say a gap, but a difficult region between Hungary, Austria, Italy, and on the other side, Russia and Caspian Sea. And this includes a lot of countries around Adriatic Sea, Black Sea, down to Caspian Sea, where we have a lot of challenges. First of all, when you go to the west, there's still unfinished business in Bosnia and Herzegovina, even in Montenegro, that is working for reforms and progressing in their way to join NATO. There are still open issues for Macedonian membership in NATO. Of course, we still have Kosovo that is not fully recognized even by all the countries in this region. Going to the east, we have a lot of frozen conflicts in Moldova, in Georgia, in Azerbaijan. And it is pity, but this last year brought to us annexation of Crimea from Russia. And at least this is our assessment on Bulgarian side, aggression using a type of hybrid warfare in support of the separatists in eastern Ukraine by Russian Federation. All this creates a quite difficult situation on the borders and inside Southeast Europe, defined such a way. And if we add to this the development of situation in this Islamic State of Iraq and Syria, or Iraq and Levant, it is a quite difficult area. It is not possible problems to be solved inside the area without the framework provided by NATO and European Union. But the challenge is that today, neither NATO, neither European Union have a clear strategy for full integration of all these countries. So it means looking in Europe, it is difficult to find the area with more challenges in the area of security and development. on the other side, this is essential part of Europe. Actually, the European civilization started from this region. So we cannot just close this region and expect the problems to be solved on their own. So having this in mind, we believe that we need to look very carefully at existing mechanisms for cooperation, to identify existing best practices, to look at other regions in Europe with successful patterns of cooperation, and to be really ambitious in this region to try to implement these practices from other areas. At least in Bulgaria, when we are looking at these good practices in Benelux, in Nordefco, for Nordic countries, Norway, Sweden, Finland, Denmark, Iceland, we see a lot of key characteristics that we need to analyze and to see, could we define the modalities of cooperation in Southeast Europe that are based on these examples, that are based on these principles. For example, to make this cooperation not just focused on political dialogue and building transparency and information sharing, but really to projectize this cooperation, to make it focused on achieving results in the area of security and defense, results in capability development, results in exercises, results in development of force structure that is used for the region, but is used to contribute to the efforts of NATO and European Union. Definitely one of the lessons is that it is very difficult for such a heterogeneous region to try to define a universal model and to implement it top-down. Most probably, we have to look for successful cases bottom-up and to build around these successful cases. So when 2, 3, 4 countries are coming together that feel that their interests and their way of thinking and doing business is similar, so they could generate attractive projects that after that other countries could join, or at least to have successful examples in the region. As I mentioned, cooperation in Southeast Europe cannot be effective outside the framework of NATO and European Union. It means, for good reason, all these initiatives were started more or less to help the countries in the region to prepare for joining NATO or EU. And the most successful initiatives were when these initiatives were dedicated specifically to achieve this goal. So obviously now this region is much more influenced by the flavor of NATO and EU than it was 20 years ago or even 10 years ago. We have Slovenia, Croatia, Albania, Bulgaria, Romania already joining NATO. We have Romania, Slovenia, Bulgaria, now Croatia joining European Union. And of course, we believe the door is open for other aspirant countries, including Macedonia, including Montenegro, including even Bosnia and Herzegovina, Georgia. And definitely the European Union started negotiations with Serbia, so it is there are a lot of good examples to believe that NATO and EU framework is fundamentally important for developing any type of regional cooperation. As from the very beginning, good governance based on transparency, accountability, integrity, effective project management and program management is essential because there are simply many levels of maturity in this area. In the beginning, it was just to provide certain level of transparency in defense budgeting between the countries, inside the countries. Now, there are much more mature initiatives. And for example, this initiative in the framework of SEDEM, Southeast European Defense Ministerial, on building integrity in defense establishment is something that is bringing very good results for further improvement of the quality of management in defense establishment. For the region, where we have different cultures, different religions, different historical traditions, actually it was proven that the gender issue is quite important. It is why Bulgaria decided to transfer the leadership that we have inside NATO for this female leadership in security and defense as a regional project in SEDEM again, to develop this gender issue in security and defense and to provide a common understanding European UN standards in this area. What is critical is just to build this capacity for effective financing of regional initiatives. Because, of course, in the beginning, it was mostly international funding that was provided either on bilateral basis by US or in the framework of Stability Pact or pre-accession or other programs of European Union. But it is clear that even maintaining the framework of NATO and EU and US leadership in the region, it is impossible to have effective cooperation without developing national mechanisms for funding and managing of international regional projects, where all this external funding could be just co-financing but cannot be the driving force. Otherwise, it will be never true regional cooperation. And this is one of the challenges because all these ministerial meetings have difficulties to identify practical projects and to commit real funding. And this has to be overcome, otherwise it will not go forward. Other aspect, and I will bring this to reality with some examples, is that yes, it is regional cooperation, but this regional cooperation is to build capabilities to be affiliated in area of defense to the NATO and EU force structure. If this is just to build regional formations that stay isolated only as regional, it is not making success to happen in the region. We have a lot of good examples in all these areas. For example, in Adriatic Charter countries, practically they developed multinational units that are actually participating in NATO and EU operations. SEBRIC, this Southeast European Brigade that was established in 1999, is more and more working to be fully interoperable with NATO, and was formally affiliated first with NATO Rapid Deployment Corps in Istanbul when the headquarters was in Istanbul. Now when the headquarters is in Larissa, it is affiliated to NATO Rapid Deployment Corps in Thessaloniki. CSIM is another initiative that was established maybe 15 years ago. It is Southeast European simulation exercise in area of crisis management. Recently, the exercise was finished with the leadership of Croatia and Bulgaria, but with participation with all the countries in the region. So it is just to prove that defense cooperation is bringing opportunity to involve crisis management authorities and to provide this support to cooperation between the nations in the area of emergency management. Croatia has a great initiative in NATO framework under this NATO initiative for smart defense, for Balkan regional approach to air defense, and it is really to bring together NATO and partner nations in order to procure radars and to integrate air defense systems. That is a highly sophisticated area and require a lot of cooperation, and for small nations to buy 1 or 2 radars without cooperating with others is quite expensive and challenging effort. There were some good steps to provide practical cooperation between military hospitals and defense staff colleges. That is again area where nations in the region are more eager to share experience, to exchange people, and to help each other in time of emergency. Another NATO program of building centers of excellence under Allied Command Transformation is giving very positive results in the region, because Turkey is hosting Defense Against Terrorism Center of Excellence. Romania is hosting Human Intelligence Center of Excellence. Now Bulgaria is working to have accredited Center of Excellence on Crisis Management and Disaster Relief that is very much focused on defense support to civilian authorities in time of emergency. And there are some other initiatives, as the center in Croatia, Rakvijak, that is PFP training center, and some others. There is better use of the training ranges in different countries. So in Bulgaria, we are very proud with the training range in Novo Selo that is used by many nations from the region and outside the region. The same is in Romania, in Macedonia, in other countries. And these are all practical projects, practical examples that countries in the region could go step forward when they have already established a level of trust. Maybe not all the nations together, but the nations that are willing, that are ready to invest and to work through the mechanisms of regional cooperation. So what I want to stress is that this is taking time. And what happened for the last more than 20 years is probably not what we want to see. And it is responsibility of, how to say, next generation to go faster, to implement the best practices from other parts of Europe, and to find the best way for defense and security cooperation in Southeast Europe. That is, and we strongly believe in this, the most important prerequisite to regional cooperation in area of economy, in area of development. In this case, American University in Volgograd, or Bulgaria, is maybe one of the best projects of USAID in the beginning, more than 23 years ago, that was initiated between the first democratically elected government of Bulgaria, led by Dr. Filip Dimitrov, who used to teach in the university later on, and US. But as in most of the successful cases, it is not just a bilateral endeavor. It is an initiative that is now providing excellent environment for students coming from more than 40 nations, working together, implementing the new way of working together in such academic environment, using this model of liberal arts. And I used to be interested in this because my daughter graduated here. And I appreciate this opportunity for Bulgarian young people, but obviously it is something quite attractive for many other young people. And when it is coming to the point to be in your hands, to define modalities of regional cooperation, to define the format of these meetings, of generating projects, of managing projects, I'm absolutely sure it will be much faster, much easier to be result-oriented, to be focused on practical achievements, and really to make Southeast Europe essential part of Europe, and really bridge between Europe and Asia, Europe and North Africa, because we cannot isolate ourselves from these regions, but we cannot accept that this part will be taken away from Europe and European future by someone else. So these are my key points with this introduction. And my real interest is to hear how do you see regional cooperation, especially security cooperation, defense cooperation, and how we, countries from this region, could do it better, could attract young people to invest in this, to participate in this, and to really overcome all the dividing lines and all the difficulties to communicate when we start to think in old paradigms, in old blocks. That is probably already a challenge even for my generation. We started this change somewhere in '91, when most of us were at early 30s. Now, in the middle of the 50s, I strongly believe the new generation has to do more, could do more, and I hope will do more in order to have much better cooperation, and everything will come later on. Nothing will come before we are able to establish effective modalities of cooperation in Southeast Europe. And all the challenges that we have currently, to the east, to the south, even to the west, will not go away without we finding long-term cooperation models and communicating better, understanding each other better, and maybe recognizing that some nations are not interested to participate in this cooperation, are not interested to be part of the Euro-Atlantic model of development of Europe. So we will be just neighbors and have to cooperate on other level, but not on the level that most of the nations already decided for them to be integral part of Euro-Atlantic community. It has to be clear. It is not creating dividing lines. It is just creating clarity in our relations and clarity in defining what is included in Southeast Europe as part of Europe, and what is going to be outside Southeast Europe and will be part of other type of arrangements. And we will look for cooperation between Europe and these other big regions that want to have their own way of development, not identical with the values that are in the basis of NATO and European Union. There is no reason to think about confrontation as only way of cooperation. But when it comes to integration, it could happen only based on shared values and clear determination to defend these values and to live according to these values. I want to finish with this, and just to mention that with me today is Mr. Nalbantov, who is chief of my cabinet, Violina, she's helping with my program, and Mr. Milensky, who is advisor on defense policy. This regional cooperation aspects is a very small part of our effort. Our main effort, as I mentioned, is to start organize project-based modernization of armed forces in the framework of the decisions from summit in Wales, based on gradual increase of defense spending with focus on modernization. But we understand that without regional cooperation, and upcoming meeting in 2 weeks in Montenegro is focused on this, we cannot be successful. Because misinterpretation of this effort of modernization of armed forces and deeper integration in NATO, if it is going to really make our regional cooperation more difficult, it will be very negative. We are looking to have all these developments in Bulgarian framework of our NATO and EU integration, part of regional cooperation, part of building better relations with our neighbors. So I promised third time to stop. Now I will really stop and really invite you for questions, comments, and proposals.
What we're going to do is open the floor for questions. And if I might open up with the first question. How do you explain to a skeptical Bulgarian citizen, because we usually think about security policies, we usually think about keeping secrets, not sharing information, and it seems what you're advocating is actually something of the opposite. So how do you explain to the average Bulgarian sort of skeptic, there are many of these guys in Bulgaria, right? How do you explain why cooperation is actually enhancing security as opposed to taking away from security?
First of all, we have a lot of positive examples that cooperation during the last 20 years actually increased our security and opportunity for development. And actually, cooperation was kind of prerequisite for preparing our country to join NATO and EU. And joining NATO is bringing much more security to us with less resources, but working in this larger community. And for skeptic people, the examples of European Union are really much more valuable because without visas, with free movement, with European programs that will bring more than 30 billion Bulgarian levs to Bulgaria in investment projects in the next 6 years, this cooperation is actually bringing more security and opportunity for development. And of course, skeptics that are a little bit older than audience, that remember all the borders and the tension with Greece, with Turkey, even with Yugoslavia, feel, I believe, much more comfortable when we have cooperation with all these countries and we are able to work on joint projects instead of keeping secrets and building tension between us.
We'll open the floor for questions, please. Questions? Yes.
Good evening. You were talking about Ukraine, and I'd like to ask you, what is your personal opinion about the situation in Ukraine? And the other question, are you planning to cooperate with Ukraine, like more closer? Thank you.
Situation in Ukraine is not easy, as we all know, and we are concerned with the developments there. Bulgaria is offering to Ukraine cooperation in this SIDEM format. Specifically, we declare that we'll be able to take care for rehabilitation and support to wounded soldiers in Bulgaria. We are joining this trust fund in cybersecurity that will be led by Romania in framework of NATO. And of course, we are ready to cooperate more in the area of education and training. Part of our battalion in Smolensk just returned from exercise that was held in Ukraine near Lvov. So we maintain in the framework of NATO our military cooperation with Ukraine because we consider Ukraine as an important partner, very close to us, not only geographically but culturally. I will not go in history, but there are very strong links, and we have quite large Bulgarian minority in Ukraine. But after all these positive words, I would like to say that how it is going to develop depends very much, first of all, of the decisions of Ukrainian president and Ukrainian government and upcoming elections. And if the choice of Ukrainian people to be part of Europe, we will be one of members of European Union and one of members of NATO that will support very much the efforts of Ukrainian people in this direction. If the choice of Ukrainian people will be different, we have to think how our relations will develop because it will be more difficult in this situation.
If I may, where does Turkey stand nowadays? Where does
what is its role in the relations between the Balkan countries, and what are the aspirations in terms of political relations Turkey has with the Balkan countries?
Geographically, Turkey stays southeast of Bulgaria. Historically, I hope you know the history. When it comes to the future, of course, Turkey is one of the biggest countries in the region, part of most of these formats of cooperation. And we are really looking for deepening relations with Turkey in framework of our membership in NATO of both countries. We are really very open for consultations with Turkey in the framework of their aspiration to join European Union. On bilateral basis, we are very much interested in cooperation when it comes to transportation of gas and building this interconnector, finishing all these big infrastructure projects for better connectivity between two countries and between two continents. In more details, I strongly believe that again, Turkey is a much bigger country than Bulgaria, and it depends very much what our relations will develop based on the development of Turkish foreign and security policy and their level of ambition for Southeast Europe. So if their level of ambition is to be effective member of NATO, to be in future member of European Union, it is one dimension. If they want to play just the role of regional power, our relation with Turkey will be very much based on our membership in European Union. And as with other regional powers, we will try to develop policies inside European Union that will help to maintain healthy relations with such big and powerful countries next to our border.
Other questions? Yes.
Can you tell us how Bulgaria and Turkey cooperate concerning the case with the immigration wave from Syria? Because, as we all know, most of the refugees pass through Turkey to come to Bulgaria.
You are probably aware of this engineering facility that was built along the border. It was just mentioned by the two foreign ministers that it is temporary facility. So we don't think it is long-term solution. Long-term solution is to have better cooperation between Bulgaria and Turkey. As I mentioned, better cooperation between European Union and Turkey. Because on Saturday there was long interview of Turkish ambassador to Bulgaria, Mr. Süleyman Gökçe, and he mentioned that the number of refugees in Turkey is very high, but financial and other support from EU is practically negligible. So Bulgaria has very limited resources. We expect very much Turkey to help and to protect us of this wave of potential refugees and immigrants. And we are taking our responsibility to work inside European Union, so European Union to have a much more focused approach in support of Turkey, because it is challenge even for the Turkey to have more than 1 million refugees and actually growing from these countries. What we are considering as a short-term solution is this agreement for readmission, because, of course, we are not able to stop everyone crossing the border, but we have to be able to return these people if they are illegal immigrants and not eligible for refugee status. On other side, and it is nothing to do with Turkey, we have our serious ambition to find a better solution in European Union for maintaining these refugee waves, because Bulgaria is still one of the poorest countries in the European Union, and we cannot be just the buffer zone for other nations in European Union without having solidarity expressed in any possible sense. But again, with Turkey, we have very good cooperation, and this temporary facility is not changing the level of a positive attitude that is developed between the two countries.
Other questions? Other questions? Yes, back there. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Professor Phillips. My name is Bojan, and I wanted to ask, in the past few months, we've seen that Berlin and Angela Merkel are increasing their attention towards the Western Balkan. My question is, can we see this as an increasing hope of overcoming the deadlocks that the nations here have in between each other, which leads to a deadlock of the Euro-Atlantic integration? Especially a case in point is the Macedonian-Greek dispute.
You probably know better than me what is the essence of this dispute. Bulgaria tries to be very constructive when it comes to our relations with Macedonia. I'm currently on unpaid leave from NATO, otherwise I have to use the name former Yugoslav Republic of Macedonia, because the Greek representatives will immediately react. But as a matter of fact, when you aspire to join certain alliance, first of all, it is your own responsibility to look carefully, to think carefully, and to develop proposals. It is not very honest to expect again, US to find the solution and to mediate this solution, because it has to be achieved between Macedonia and Greece. And we strongly believe the constructive approach that Bulgaria has in our relations with Macedonia could be example for our friends in Macedonia to solve these problems. But I don't think the name is the only problem for Macedonia and other Western Balkan countries. Reforms in area of security sector, especially special services, really cutting all dependencies of former secret services from the past is essential, and without this being solved, we know this even from our own experience, even solving the problem of the name and having formal accession to NATO will not solve all the problems for Macedonia or for Montenegro or for Bosnia and Herzegovina. So reforms are much more important than this very specific political issue.
The question. Yes.
On the topic of defense towards southeastern border, did this ministry investigate why did the previous government raise the cost all of a sudden for all the costs for the fence that was about to be built?
First of all, I don't think this is a good decision to give responsibility for this facility to Bulgarian land forces. It is not their responsibility and specialty at all. So it was a first mistake. When you task someone that is not prepared for this, it's very easy to make mistake. And the best thing that we were able to achieve is to finish this contract and to transfer back authority to Ministry of Interior and to keep armed forces from this issue that is not for land forces. Why the cost is bigger than was expected? This is the essential problem that we try to solve with this modernization program Bulgaria in NATO and European Defense 2020, and the answer is professional project management. Even with very professional project management, more than 80% of any project is taking longer, more money, bigger budget, and not meeting the initial scope. So it was not so complex project, but without project management capacity and procurement capacity, it's very easy to make a lot of mistakes. So there are two approaches. First, to improve project management capacity, and second, not to do projects that are not essential for your area of specialization. So we are not investigating anything. We just try to improve for the future.
Other questions?
Hello. Lucas Wiebers, my name. I'm a German exchange student. Well, with regards to the European foreign and security policy, I'd like to know your personal opinion because, well, there are a couple of agreements and different strategies which the treaties do provide. And I'd like to know if you are in favor of more cooperation, so to say, new agreements, or just use the prevailing agreements and deepen them. Because, well, I have the impression that there are already a couple of different agreements, but they are not that well used.
This is an excellent question that we discussed during informal meeting of defense ministers in Milano, EU defense ministers. And the point is that we have enough agreements, we have enough battle groups, we're just not using them. So it is a matter of political will to use what we already have. We have European Defence Agency, we are not using it. So for European Union, the biggest challenge is to start using what was developed, what is available. In order to do this, we did a little bit of analysis between NATO and EU. I'm not expert in EU, but I'm fond of NATO and I'm working more than 5 years in NATO. So in EU, we don't have command structure. So without EU command structure, it is very difficult to use these battle groups because according to the existing treaties, you have to decide one nation to lead, and not always nations are so comfortable to give all the authority to one nation to lead. Second, in EU, we don't have any common funding. So without common funding, European Defence Agency will never work effectively enough in comparison to what NATO is able to achieve. Last but not least, EU has a really competitive advantage of being not just political military, but economic and much larger union, so being able to implement this comprehensive approach. The problem is that the comprehensive approach works when first you are able to deploy forces and when you have strong will to use these forces to guarantee security and stability, when the comprehensive approach will start to work. So EU has a challenge to agree on command structure or to use NATO command structure, to have common funding for EDA in order really to develop capabilities. And the German proposal for framework nation is a very good approach because actually it is providing kind of at least multinational funding, if not common funding. And EU has to realize that comprehensive approach is not able to deliver without deployment of military troops on the ground. You cannot start with civilian support or all other missions without being able to deploy, or at least to have readiness to deploy if things are not going well. There is no replacement for military power in international politics. At least this is my belief. Everything else is coming after that.
Other questions? Yes, sir.
In view of the annexation of Crimea, is anything being done to prevent possible future incidents like that in the region or elsewhere?
What I could assure you that assurance measures of NATO guarantee that such annexation cannot happen on the territory of NATO nation because of Washington Treaty and resolution of nations to maintain this treaty. When it comes to other nations, you cannot stop nuclear power to do something if they are committed to do it. But after that, consequences are too bad for everyone. And I'm absolutely sure that the leadership of Russian Federation will rethink what they decided to do in Crimea and in eastern Ukraine. And actually, I have already seen some signs of their rethinking their behavior because economic sanctions, this is actually the challenge. NATO and EU are working quite well together, and NATO and EU, even formally being regional unions, have a global reach. Because when something is decided in NATO, you have more or less automatically Australia, New Zealand, Singapore, Japan, and some other powers supporting this. EU just signed this trade agreement with Canada. Negotiations with US are going in this direction. And if someone is trying to speculate that could bring dividing line between US, Canada, and Europe, I believe this is just misunderstanding of the nature of these two alliances.
Other questions?
You were mentioning earlier about good practices and in an ideal future that you'd like to see good practices introduced in terms of security and defense policies. I was wondering if you could give us an example of what type of good practice you would really like to see introduced very soon.
When I said good practices, first of all, there are some good practices in the region. So it's very important to build on these good practices. But if you're asking what I want to see is to get some of the good practices from NORDEFCO region and to implement it. And it means to see some practical projects of nations in the region putting money together in building common capabilities that they could use together in full trust and confidence between themselves. I don't expect this to be done between 16 nations in CEDAM, but I will be very happy to see this between Romania and Bulgaria, or Bulgaria and Greece, or between the three nations, or maybe including Croatia, because we have to start from something that is well mature, and it means something that is based on NATO and EU experience and the level of consultation that exists between NATO and EU nations. And I experienced this even in a very short period of 2 months. It is one thing to have once a year defense ministerial between nations in the region, but when you have ambassadors sitting next to each other in Brussels, talking with each other every day, and ministers and all the staff in ministries meeting on one or another level practically on a monthly basis, it is really making things much easier. But we have to make the next step and to do projects together.
We have time for about 1 or 2 more questions. Other questions? Okay.
Just a second. I missed the most important thing in the beginning, to say that this discussion was possible because of AOBG talks. So thank you very much for this framework.
Always with the advertisements.
Sorry.
No, in that case, if no more questions, we'd like to thank you very much for coming. I think that for the foreign policy students in my classes, a lot was said tonight and unusually forthright, I think. And I think we'll have several class sessions trying to pick apart some things that were said, and also talk particularly, one thing that we've talked about in class is this people getting together and talking, what the difference it makes when you have these people around the room meeting regularly. So thank you very much for making some of my job a little bit easier in the near future, and thank you very much for being our guest.
Thank you very much again. You have the best job I could dream for, so there's no need to be easier. You just enjoy the job you have.
Yes, yes. Thank you very much.
Thank you for participating.
This program is brought to you by AUBG Talks. For more, please visit us at aubg.edu/talks.